Welcome to PaxX TV. I'm your host, Mary Kirby, and in this episode, our UK-based field correspondent, Marianne Simpson, will be paying a visit to Air Salvage International to discover what happens to commercial aircraft when they reach the end of their flying days. We'll also be talking about Norwegian's efforts to launch low-fare service over the North Atlantic, as well as get the aviation industry's take on the UK's upcoming Brexit vote. But first, a quick word from our sponsor, GoGo.
How do we deliver the best performing IFC technology to aircraft? We focus on the plane first. Our aircraft expertise lets us install fast and minimize touches, keeping planes in service where they belong. And now our high bandwidth, future-ready global solution, 2KU, is in flight. New and better services for passengers, greater operational efficiency for our partners. The 2KU era has begun.
Now over to Marianne at Air Salvage International.
Airbus predicts that between now and 2034, the global aviation industry is going to grow at a rate of 4.6% annually. That means the world is going to need well over 30,000 new aircraft in that time. But what happens to all these aircraft when their flying days are numbered? And what is the environmental impact of the aviation industry's big flying metal waste products? To find out, Runway Girl Network is visiting Air Salvage International today at Cotswolds Airport in the UK. Air Salvage International is a fully accredited aircraft end-of-life service provider, and they handle about 14% of the worldwide aircraft disassembly market.
We've been in business now for 20 years, and we solely dismantle aircraft for spare parts for the lessors and the banks. We average between 50 and 60 aircraft a year, and we're one of the biggest dismantlers in Europe. The range is predominantly narrow-bodied aircraft, albeit we do see quite a few wide-bodied aircraft come through. Average, I would say, about 15 to 20 Airbus A320s or that type of aircraft come through. The rest are made up of Boeing 747s, 737s, some new gens, and the aircraft behind me, which we're just starting to see, which is the Embraer. The trend we're seeing now, over and above what we used to see, is we're seeing a lot of Embraer 170s and 190s come out of service. They're not overly old. They're between 10 and 15 years old. The one behind me is actually 12 years old. So we're seeing quite a few of these aircraft at this time coming out of service. The reason for that is, I would say, down to the value of the parts. Obviously the value of the parts on this type of aircraft, because there's not many of this type being broken for spare parts, the value of the parts are quite high. Obviously going forward a year or so, I guess when quite a few more of these are being dismantled, the value of the parts will decrease slightly, much like the Boeing 737 new gen. We've seen an influx of new gens come through the facilities going back 18 months ago. This year we've only seen one aircraft come through, one new gen come through. Once we've removed all the high value parts, we're looking to maximise the return on the airframe. That's not wanted to go back into the supply chain. We convert the aircraft into sim trainers for airlines. We also work with film companies. We also work with schools, colleges, theme parks is a big thing as well. We just recently put half a section of aircraft into a theme park. But predominantly we're working with the training companies that convert sections of aircraft into trainers.
The number of parts that can actually be salvaged and brought back into the supply chain varies by aircraft age and model. On an Embraer 190, for example, Air Salvage will harvest some 1,800 parts. 747 spares are quite common, so Mark's team will save just about 300 to 400 parts before sending the remainder of the airframe to the metal yard.
We work in compliance with the Environment Agency, obviously predominantly with the Civil Aviation Authority when we're removing the parts from the aircraft, and then it moves on. Once it becomes waste, it moves on to the environment side of the business. The biggest issues we got, not so much with the metal, it's more with the new type of material that's coming through, like carbon fibre. There's a big thing going on at the moment, and we're doing research as well with Oxford University and a few other universities on the recycling of carbon fibre. Carbon fibre can be recycled, but only if it's clean. If it's dirty carbon fibre, and I mean carbon fibre with other bits of material in the carbon fibre, it's very, very difficult to recycle it.
Right now, carbon fiber aircraft components are being downcycled and used to produce environmentally friendly products for automotive and other markets. It's hoped that with more research, recycling techniques will continue to improve and that recycled carbon fiber will also make its way back into the aerospace supply chain, completing the circle.
Thanks, Marianne. Norwegian Air International, the Irish-based arm of Norwegian, is eager to launch its low-fare transatlantic service. Now, the carrier has faced myriad challenges from U.S. airlines and labor unions, which see NAI, as it's known, as nothing more than a flag of convenience scheme. But NAI has received some unlikely support in the form of Aer Lingus, which believes that the subsidiary will inject some needed competition into the transatlantic market.
I'm confident that as a business that we will respond, and ultimately that the market will be a better place as a result of more competition.
Unlike some of its European and American competitors, it seems that Aer Lingus is willing to take on the competition head-on, a move that should benefit consumers.
Norwegian follows an a la carte model whereby passengers pay for the seat but pay extra for virtually everything else. But if the price is right, there is little doubt that travelers will embrace this service. Flights are envisaged initially from New York and Boston to Cork, Ireland. In other news, on June 23rd, a national referendum will decide whether the United Kingdom remains in the European Union or not. The aviation industry faces a number of possible implications if the UK leaves the EU. One concern is that overall demand in and out of the UK will decline and that costs will rise with the weakening of the British pound. But others are less certain. Check out our Brexit archive on Runway Girl Network to find out what the business aviation and commercial aviation sectors have to say about it. That's all for this edition of PaxX TV. Join us again next time for all the latest news on the passenger experience.
It's a great day, I'm feeling good. Oh, the possibilities of what I could. Oh.